Hi there, my name's Carolyn Doughty and this is a Silicone Magic tutorial video. It's just speeded up. The whole of the sculpting videos for the head are about 6 times this, probably about 6 or 7 hours, and they're split into sections. This is the whole thing speeded up so that you can see how I make a head, but it's only 45 minutes video. So it's just, you can either watch it because you're interested in learning to sculpt and thinking about doing my course, or watch it because it's good fun to watch. Doesn't really matter. So at the moment what I'm doing is I'm making a foil armature and putting clay over the top of it. What we're doing is making a firm basis, firm lightweight basis, so we don't use clay all the way through and it doesn't start moving around. So we're making a firm basic armature underneath, like a skull. As you can see, we do use the skull. We use all sorts of diagrams and proportions and measurements to make sure we get everything in the right place. But this armature is basically just the start of what we do. We place the clay on the foil ball, and then we put the eyes in, and then once the eyes are in, we bake it, and that's our armature that we've made ourselves, which is exactly correct for the proportions we want. The eyes we bake in the armature because we don't want them moving around. So many people say, oh, I started making a head and the eyes started moving, and then I got carried away with the measurements. So here I am, I'm placing the eyes in exactly the right place for a baby. This baby is going to be 18 inches long, so we make the head exactly the right size for an 18-inch baby. So we're putting the eyes in, and now what I'm doing is making them level so that they both face in the same direction. Obviously human head eyes both face exactly in the same direction forward. We don't want one looking forward and one looking to the side. It's not ideal. Obviously it's going to be a silicone doll, so if you get the eyes slightly wrong you can adjust them a little bit in the silicone head, but you don't really want to be starting out with something that's not quite right. So those eyes, this is going to be what I call my armature. So these eyes are exactly the right distance apart. We measure them, we get them exactly right, we fix them in place, and that's the finished armature, which we now bake, and then we start building up the head on top of this. So the course that I teach, it's called Silicone Magic. It's a series of videos. There are probably about 100 videos in total, half-hour long approximately each, and they show you how to make a silicone baby from start to finish, absolutely from beginning to end. And I've been making silicone babies now for getting on for 10 years, and basically everything that I know I teach you. I will show you, I will show you all the bits and pieces that you need to know, using skulls, using anatomy, using proportions. We'll be measuring things, we'll be making sure we get things in exactly the right place, using the same sizes of clays and placing them in a certain way. What I do is show you how to make a silicone baby, or starting with sculpting a head, where we all do it in a very precise manner, and then we start sculpting at the end. We make a sketch. So basically what we're doing is making a sketch where we're laying down clay, we're laying down the thickness of clay so that we know that we've got it exactly right. We do measurements as we go along, and then at the end of the day you get a baby that is perfectly right as far as proportions go. We don't mess around with, oh, my baby looks like an old man. If you've got the proportions right, it will be right, and it'll be good. I don't tell you what expression to do or anything like that. Basically, once you've got your baby face, you can then move on and develop your style, develop your the expressions you want to do and things like that. But this is basically showing you how to make a baby face that is correct, that is cute, is spot on. It's a system I developed myself, and I've had quite a few students going through the course now, and I've got quite a few who are now making silicone babies. As you can see, basically I'll say, take one of your balls of clay, which are all the same size, roll it into a 6 centimetre roll, lay it here, smooth it slightly, move on to the next bit, and we're basically building up the face. It doesn't look like a face. This is the sketch. We build up the face in the sketch so that we've got enough clay covering the face. It's in the right profile. You've got your contours and everything, and obviously then we build up the head on the top a little bit later. But it actually works, and it's really good fun. In the videos, you'll see a lot of my pets, my 2 dogs, my cats. I've got 5 cats, so they do walk past the video camera a few times, and I do talk, chat away to you as I'm working. But it's it's good fun. The students chat with each other using on the Facebook page, so they show each other on their progress, and it's really good. It's really good fun. So this is again building up the contours of the head, the forehead, making sure it's all the right size, it's all in the right place. I show you how to look at the profile, look down at the profile from the top, from the side, to make sure that your features are in the right place and they're the right size. So I'm going to let you watch this in silence until we get to the end of the sketch, and then I'll come back on and talk through what we're doing at that point. The clay I'm using is polymer clay. That's a plastic based clay which is soft while you're using it, a bit like plasticine but much nicer to use than plasticine. It's called Super Sculpting. And there are other clays on the market that are good. This is the one that I recommend, certainly to start with, because it's really nice to use. And then once you've got your sculpt, you bake it in the oven. You can just use an ordinary kitchen oven, and it's permanent. Then it's like a little ceramic head that you can mould, or you can carry on working on. You can build it up in layers. So, I mean, you can see the tools I'm using. You don't have to buy expensive tools. The ones I've got, some of them are quite cheap tools. Some of them are expensive tools that I've picked up at sculpting classes I've gone to along the way. You don't have to buy the expensive ones. You can do just as good a job using your fingers and a kitchen knife, really. But yeah, you can buy little wooden tools on Amazon for £15 for a whole set. The clay itself costs about £15 to £20 a block. I don't know what that is in American money. I've got students on the course from all around the world, quite a lot in America, in the UK, Australia, and then quite a few in Europe as well. If you're not English speaking, you may struggle with the instructions on the video. I haven't yet got it translated into different languages, but I might be able to do that at some point in the future. So as you can see, I'm just building up this sketch with the thickness of the clay. A baby's face is not just an egg with eyes in and a nose stuck on the top. It is a contoured face. It has a different shape to it to an adult person's face. It is completely different, and there are rules. The inside of the eye, for example, if you draw a line down the insides of the eye, that is exactly where the side of the nose goes. That is the same on every baby. even no matter what race, what ethnicity, for a newborn baby, they always start out looking exactly the same. Same with the mouth. The mouth also usually comes within those 2 parallel lines. As long as the baby's not animated, if it's smiling or laughing, obviously it's going to go wider. But generally, if you draw parallel lines down the inside of the eyes, the nose and the mouth fit within, more or less within those parallel lines, within a few millimetres type of thing. So it's little things like that you don't always think about, you don't always see. When you look at a photograph of a baby, you see what you want to see. You don't see what is actually there. It's amazing how your mind, your eyes play tricks on you, and you don't always see what is exactly there. So here I am looking down at the profile from the top, looking across the forehead, across the profile of the nose, the cheeks, the upper lip, and obviously the lower jaw isn't yet there. On a baby's face, the lower jaw and lower lip go inwards, so the lower lip sits behind the upper lip. Again, that's not something people think. They see a baby's face and they think they know where lips go. You know, the bottom lip goes underneath the top lip, but it doesn't. It goes underneath and behind the top lip on a baby. And the chin is just a tiny little knob underneath the bottom lip, which goes in again. So beyond what we've got here, we've got the eyes, the nose and the upper jaw. Beyond that, everything goes inward. See, as I'm doing here, I'm showing how it goes. Again, we're still doing measurements, we're still doing pieces of clay exactly the same size. We all use the same size clay, and you will all end up with something very, very similar. Not the same, but very similar at this stage. When it comes to refining the baby, everybody is slightly different. You'll be refining it in the same way, you'll be going through the same directions, but at that stage, your personality, your artistic creativity will come out, and you will do it how you want to do it. You see the little chin going in behind the lower lip. So that's the shape of the mouth. Now you wouldn't think the mouth, the lower lip was that shape and the lower chin. At this stage, you look at it and think, oh, that doesn't look like a baby. But it will. That will be the basis of the sketch. This. So once a sketch is finished, then all we need to do at that stage is refine it. So again, looking at the top of the head, looking at the shape of the skull, the shape of the temples, how it's not an egg. Baby's head is not an egg shape. It has a specific shape to it. Obviously a newborn baby's head looks slightly different to a baby's head that's a couple of weeks old, because the skull bones do change shape slightly at that stage. But it's an absolutely fascinating subject, and if you don't have to be artistic necessarily, you don't have to be creative, you don't have to have any experience at all. I've got quite a few students who have never done anything before, and they're doing really well. If you've been a reborn artist, if you're used to using doll kits, if you're used to handling dolls' heads and faces, you will have a little bit more knowledge prior to starting on how a baby's head looks. So you'll be part way there already. But so many beginners say, as you can see, I'm building up the head now. So many beginners don't realise that the whole of the baby's face, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the brow, fits in the lower half of the head. So if you get a baby's head and you draw a line halfway between the top and the bottom, the face will always be in the lower half. Most people who start out, their eyes end up being like in the centre of the head, and we always say, well, no, the eyes are too high. Either you build up the head, which probably makes a head far too big, or you push everything downwards, or push everything upwards from underneath to make it smaller, or you start off with a better with better proportions, like you do in the videos in the tuition. So as I say, we start off, that little one, that little skull is a newborn fetus. The other skull is, I think, a 1-month-old baby. So you can see the difference in the size. What we do in the tuition is we do a baby that's ends up about 18 inches long. So it's a small, sort of tiny baby, small newborn, sort of six pound in weight approximately. This size is really good for silicone because they usually end up being about 7 pounds in weight, the actual baby, 6 to 7 pounds. So it's a really nice weight and size for silicone. It's easy to hold, easy to manage, and it's easier to sculpt. People say, oh, start out with a mini head. I don't agree with that, because on top of trying to get the proportions right, you're working with a size that's not, that you've never seen before. You know, you're working with an imaginary size. Why not work with a proper baby size head, and then you know what a baby's head looks like. You know, you can't always put that into clay without any help, but you do know what it looks like when you first start out. And as it comes together like this, again, I'm still doing the sketch here, but I'm building up the head here. I'm building up the basic shape of the head, just layering it with clay, getting the basic height of the head, and there we are. That's the finished sketch. It doesn't look like a baby yet. It looks very, very rough, but the contours are right. The measurements are correct. And all we need to do from this point onwards is go back into it and actually start sculpting it. So we don't really sculpt until now. We're not tempted to start making little eyes or making eyelids or making little nostrils. We don't do any of that. All we're doing at this stage is just getting the basics right. Right, as we're going into the sculpting part, I'm just going to switch this off and take a bit of a break, and I'll come back in a minute. Okay, hello again. Just had to have a bit of a drink there. Okay, so what we're doing now, we've got this armature made, the sketch made. So what I was doing was pulling the clay back around the eye to reveal the eye, and we're actually starting to sculpt the eye in. So we're putting the upper and lower eyelid in. As we're doing it, I'm talking through and showing diagrams of eyes and how they go, how they sit over the pupil, how the upper lid behaves and how the lower lid behaves, the crease under the eye, things like that. I talk about that. The video you're seeing is not the whole video. I do a lot of talking about the anatomy of the eye, how it goes, and making sense of it, making sense of what actually is going on in there. As you can see, we already have that inner eyelid going up into the brow. We already have the shape of the brow. We just need to refine that, really, and refine the eye. So as you can see, I'm doing a bit of sculpting around the eye. I love eyes. I think the eye is the most important part of the sculpt. I always start with eyes. Even when I used to do painting and drawing, I always used to start with the eyes. I love eyes. They're the window to our souls. And if you get the eyes right, everything is measured from the eye. In this system that I do, everything is measured from the eye. So it's the nose goes a certain distance from the eye, the mouth goes a certain distance from the eye. Everything is pivoted on the eye, because the eye is actually baked into the armature, if you remember. So everything, the eye is not going to move anywhere, it's not going anywhere, but everything else is measured from the eye. So as you can see, I'm putting in the fat rolls now. This part is not quite as prescriptive as far as sizes of clay go. With the sketch, I actually say, oh, you know, roll out a 10cm piece and place it here, roll out a 6cm piece and place it here, and I don't always necessarily explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. But as you can see from this sketch now, it is actually forming that shape of the cheeks, of the eye, of the brow, and we're now putting in the fat pads over the eye. It's really weird for me to see it in fast motion here, because obviously this is hours and hours of work really. The whole of the video series, the sculpting the head part, I think is about 72 videos, and it's about 25 hours of viewing, but because I do it as it's all there online for you to access at any time. You can get to it at any point. You can watch it in your own time. You can take as long as you want over it. What I normally advise is to watch a section through, then get your clay ready, get your sculpt ready, and then sort of do it as I'm going along and keep stopping and starting it. People find that's a good way of working. As you can see, I'm starting to build up the nose a bit here. I'm looking at the profile of it. It's obviously not quite right yet, but a good way of finding out whether you're getting things right is to look at it from different angles. Keep trying looking at it from the side, look at it from the front, look at it from the top and also from the bottom. Usually you can see if there's something wrong. I'm not doing the detail at this point, just getting the actual shape and size of it. Now I'm doing as you can see, I'm going from photographs. You have access to those photographs that I'm using, so we're all using the same diagrams. So we're putting I should say at this point, I'm not trying to get a likeness to this baby at this point. I'm just using it as a reference, so I'm not trying to get a likeness. And these photographs are all I've licensed them all to be used in the tutorials, so they're not off just photographs I've taken off the internet. They're ones I've chosen specifically for the course, and we have several photographs of the same baby in different angles, so you can see how their face works at different angles, as if the baby was there with you. That's really important. I did do a course, a sculpting course down in Devon, which was a brilliant sculpting course with the sculpture school, on portraiture of adults, obviously not babies, and I think a lot of how I work with the measurements and proportions and going by different photographs, different angles and things like that, I got from that course. It was a really, really good course for me. So as you can see, I'm looking at the cheek, I'm looking at the slopes. The baby's nose does not, like an adult nose, it's sort of like it's long and thin but the baby's nose, it goes down into the cheek. The cheek goes right up and over the nose, like what I call a ski slope. So I talk a lot about ski slopes because the baby's face is just one long ski slope down from the forehead into the nose, from the nose into the cheeks, from the cheeks into the chin. It's very, very gentle angles, but it's more. There's more depth to it than most people think. Most people think that from the eye it goes flat down into the cheek. It doesn't. There's nothing flat about a baby's face at all. It goes out and upwards and outwards, and I do show you that in the tutorials and in the diagrams. And I've written quite a few of my own diagrams as well for the course, where I'm explaining something. I'll do a diagram, I'll draw it out, or I'll do it on the computer to show you what I mean. quite a few of my students have commented that it's a really good course. If you want to know more about the course, if you go to my website siliconemagic.com, all the information's there. I've also got a lot of reviews on there from my current students and previous students. The course has been going about 2 years now, so I've got quite a few students who are now professional artists, professional silicone artists from the course. There are a few people who come on the course who already are doing some sculpting and maybe need a little bit of direction, and they have said it's been really useful as well, because I teach measurements and proportions and why we do things. It is quite useful sometimes for even artists who are already sculpting. One of the things that people come to me and say is my baby looks like an old man. Why does it look like an old man? So we talk about things like that as well. Why where you're going wrong, why you're having problems. And I also have a Facebook group which, if you're doing the course, you can join, and it's just only students on the course are in the group, and we can. It's a safe place to show pictures of your work, ask questions. I'm there available to give guidance. Very often if you put a photograph up, I'll take the photograph and sort of show you where you're going wrong, if you're struggling, and it's a really nice group. It's really friendly. As you can see, I'm now working through the mouth, getting the shape of the mouth right. Again, I'm just going to take a little bit of a break here. Right, so as you can see, I'm working on the shape of the cheek, the chin, how the cheek goes down into the mouth and into the chin. If I sound a bit out of breath, it's because I've just gone downstairs and come back up again. So so I'm sort of basically sort of finishing off the shape of the face, the basic shape of the mouth, and the basic shape of the chin, and how it goes underneath. Babies' chins are very, very small, and they're usually, as I say, they're usually set further back than the top jaw and the top lip. So that's the basic sketch done, the sketch and the basic sculpt done, and now we go through it again and we start refining things. So we go back again over the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and start making it look really pretty. Now this is where the artist themselves can make little tweaks, do their little, if they want to make things a bit different, to make the baby different. This is where we always start off with the same sketch. We always start off with the same basic sculpt, and then we can start changing things. If a baby's face is very animated, if it is laughing or crying or yawning, then you wouldn't start off with the basic sketch in the same way, because the muscles of the whole of the face will be very different. When a baby smiles, when a face smiles, the mouth doesn't just change on its own, or just the cheeks. All the muscles in the whole of the face changes. So you would do it differently. So I would say, don't start off trying to do a portrait, trying to copy a specific baby. Seriously, do lots and lots and lots of generic babies before you start trying to do something a bit different. I do have one or two students who did the first sculpt with me like this, and then they were like, oh, I think I'll do a portrait baby. I'll try and sculpt my granddaughter, and they're trying to copy the photograph that they've got, and everything they learnt goes straight out the window, and they get into a mess, and then they sort of show me photos and say, where did I go wrong? And it's usually a case of, well, you forgot to do the basic proportions, you forgot to do the measurements, start from scratch, start from the beginning again. And they do, and they say, oh yes, of course I did. I forgot that, you know, the if you draw a line from the inside of the eyes, you get the nose and the mouth. Or I forgot that the eyes and the brow's more or less the halfway mark between the top of the head and the bottom, top of the face and the bottom. So you know, definitely start off with generic faces. Just pick a diagram of a baby, a photograph, or just do a basic baby like this before you even think about starting doing expressions or particular babies, portrait babies. So as you can see, I'm adding a little bit of oil to the clay here just to smooth this a little bit more, soften it. This is only in the final bits. With sculpting, you certainly wouldn't want to do that in the sketchings at the beginning. So I'm just refining around the eyes, the eyelid, using a very cheap tool, a cheap rubber end tool. You, as I say, you certainly don't need to spend a lot. Quite a lot of what I do with a kebab stick. It's a really good tool to have, is a kebab stick. You can do quite a lot with that. So as I say, I'm just refining the eyes here. The clay has gone a little bit softer because I've used a bit of oil to soften it. I use a bit of mineral oil to soften out the clay on the last bit, to blend a little bit. But don't add too much, and don't add it too soon. So if you want to go along to siliconemagic.com and have a look at some of the things that the students have said about the course, if you are interested, it is a good course. At the moment, it's only £27 a month. So you get access to everything for £27. You get access to all the sculpting videos, the head, the body, the hands and feet, and then the making a mould. So we make a mould out of silicone. We usually use dragon skin as the silicone, and then we'll use freeform air for the mother mould, which is like a shell. So I show you step by step how to do that. And then we pour it. I'll show you how to pour the baby, how to do a cast, basically casting the baby, all the things to remember, the pitfalls and everything. As you can see, I'm just adding some clay to the head here. At this stage you just do a little bit of refining, looking at the shapes of things, and working out what needs doing. This really, at this stage, you get to this stage quite quickly, but it's this stage that's the most important, because even the slightest little change can make a big difference. As you can see, I'm shaving off some of the clay on the temples, because the front of the face, front of the skull, is actually narrower than the back of the skull. Oh, here we go, we've got a few cats here probably wanting to join in. I had my kittens, my tabby kittens at this point, and they liked to join me in the videos. So yeah, so at this stage I'm looking at the shape of the head, looking at shape of everything, doing a bit of refining, but you can see I've got the basic baby face, and I'm just looking at symmetry, looking at whether the cheeks are even, whether they look okay. Now at this stage, when I was doing this, some of my students were saying, but how do you do a sleeping baby? Now, whenever I do a sleeping baby, I always do it with the eyes in to start with. I won't necessarily do the fine sculpting of the eyes like I am with this, but I always put the eyes in the armature, and then I lay clay over the eyes, and I know exactly where they are, because you still need your proportions, you still need to do your measurements from the eyes, so you need some eyes to be able to go by. And the sleeping baby, sorry, I've been distracted, the doorbell's just gone. I'm just going to go and answer the doorbell. Sorry, I have to go down and open the door. So the sleeping baby, I fix the eyes in as I would normally for an open-eyed baby, and then I lay the clay over the eyes so that I can see where they are. Again, as I say, the proportions always go from the eye. The eye never changes. The eye is fixed in the head, and you measure the nose and the mouth and the brow and the head from the eyes. So I'm finishing off doing the tweaks to the brows. It's quite fascinating for me actually watching this, because I don't normally watch myself sculpt. It's quite weird actually. Now this baby, I think I spent about 25 hours doing the sculpting of this baby head on video. Now normally I would take a lot longer than that, I've got to say. I did do this sculpt quite quickly, so it was a more of a rushed job, because obviously, you know, you can spend hours, you can pick them up, put them down, usually spend a few weeks, put them down for quite a long time, pick them up, and you see things then that you wouldn't see, that you hadn't seen before. And normally you would spend quite a long time over this, but I didn't have the luxury of that when I was doing it on video. It wasn't easy to sculpt on video actually. So again, I'm still doing my measurements, I'm doing tweaks, measuring it again, doing more tweaks, measuring it again. Because if the measurements and the proportions are correct, then the baby's face is correct. So what I was saying earlier, some of my students were asking me how to do a sleeping baby. So in the actual tuition, I get to this stage that we go up to on this video, where the baby is the baby's head is virtually finished, and then I will I go on add the clay over the eyes and show the students how to do a sleeping baby, because quite a few of the students wanted to do a sleeping baby. But it's actually, I find it easier to, when you're beginning to sculpt an open-eyed baby, because you don't have to worry about sort of getting that sort of the thickness of the clay over the lids and where the lids go. Quite a few people get it wrong when they do a sleeping baby if they're not experienced. They get the eyes wrong. They'll do them too big, too small. How do you know how long to do the slit? How do you know how big the eye is compared to the face? And quite a few people will do the eyes the slit either too long or too near the edge of the skull. So if you've got the eyes underneath, you can gauge that. But it is quite interesting to actually do the open eyes first, and then to do the eyelids over the open eye. As you can see, I'm opening the mouth slightly here. When I finished the baby, I think I also, in doing the eyelids over the eyes, I think I also slightly changed the mouth. So this finished sculpt that you'll see in a few minutes, even though it's the same sculpt that you see in the pictures, it was the Christopher one. I do lots of different, obviously different faces. The other thing which is quite interesting is people always say, "Oh, I know your sculpts. I can tell it's your sculpt. I can tell you have most sculptors have a style, and there's nothing they can do about it. no matter how you try to sculpt in a different way so that people don't know that it's your sculpt, it always ends up, it's not a bad thing, but it does always end up the same. If you look at any sculptor, if you are a reborn artist and look at their kits, very often you can just recognise their kit, because it's not that they try and make them look the same, it's just that it's a style. I suppose it's like an artist, you know, you tend to be able to recognise Van Gogh's style or Constable or something, and it's just a style. And no matter how much you try and sculpt it differently, sometimes I'll sit down and think, right, I'm going to sculpt very differently this time. Always ends up the same, always ends up very similar. You know, all the sculpts are slightly different, but there is a style about them. Sorry about me head getting in the way sometimes. It's very difficult to actually sculpt and be aware of where the camera is, and also being able to zooming in close enough for people to be able to see what you're doing, but at the same time not sticking your head in the way, or sort of going off camera, sort of the sculpt going off the edge of the camera, which just occasionally it does, but it's not been a problem. So as you can see, I'm doing a lot of work and it doesn't seem to be changing very much at all, but it's just gradually becoming more real the more I do to it. Getting quite near the end now. So as I say, if you just wanted to watch the video just because it is entertaining, then that's great, not a problem. But if you are interested in doing the course, you can subscribe for as long or as short as you like. It's only £27 a month. You have access to all the videos, all the material, from sculpting, moulding, pouring, painting and routing, and you can have access for as long as you want. There is also another course, another way of doing it, which is to pay for the whole lot, and then you've got lifetime access, so you're not messing around with monthly subscriptions, and you've got the course forever. You can dip in and out of it. I also do tips and tricks videos. So anyway, so this was starting from the beginning. This is going through the different stages I did of making the baby. This is the moulding, building up the mould. This is obviously the finished baby. This was Joseph, not the Christopher one that I'm doing in this video. But if you're interested, it's Silicone Magic, and you too can make a beautiful little silicone baby boy or baby girl. All you need to do is subscribe to the videos, and any questions, please do let me know. If you go into the website and you've got any questions, just message me or email me and I'll be happy to help. Thank you so much for watching this.